I started bringing in body composition into my facility years ago when I started doing obesity medicine. And I was focusing just on weight management. And I needed something that was a little bit more informative than your average scale. So I looked at different types of body compositions out there or machines, and I really wanted something that was more hospital grade, knowing that I was going to be having a high volume of patients standing on it. And I also really needed a minimum weight of like 400 plus pounds. And none of the commercial body composition analysis machines at that time, this is like 12 years ago, I could support that much weight. So I wanted to be able to provide that for all size patients. I chose Sika because they were at a hospital grade and they also had the most accurate measures in all the parameters that I was looking for in a body composition analysis. I really wanted something that was as close to the gold standard as possible. And between this and a couple other companies, this one to me sounded like and seemed like, and actually does have some of the most accurate readings. So adding body composition analysis to our practice has added a lot of value in our programs because it creates accountability for our patients. They get excited about coming in once a month and being able to step on the machine and watching to see how much weight they're losing. But more importantly, are they losing fat mass, or are they losing muscle mass? Are they losing water weight? And that's really important for us to guide our treatment plan for the patient. So if they're losing muscle mass, we know that they need to start increasing strength training and exercising and protein intake, as opposed to if they're doing great on that department and they're just losing fat mass, that's also a win for the patient. It really does help us guide our programs and guide the patient along their weight loss journey as well. I think it's really important for the patient to see that it's not just the bottom number when they're looking at the scale, and which is another reason why I love the Sika body composition analysis. We can start focusing on other numbers, like where their visceral fat is, or have they made progress in fat loss. And then it becomes less about the number that they're chasing, like the bottom number. We're starting to look at other parameters, and it broadens our focus to look more at their overall health, like really looking at decreasing fat mass, or look, you just increased your muscle mass. And that's much more inspiring for the patient and much less discouraging, say if they've been weight stable for several weeks or months and they come in and their weight hasn't changed or might just have even gone up. This gives them a different thing to focus on, like, well, your water weight's up, so that makes sense. But look at your fat mass is down a few pounds. That gives them definitely more encouragement and less fear of stepping on the scale, because they're not just looking at a number that's not moving. Service has been great with Sika. You've been very hands-on. I think that it was a challenge with our process because we had an old machine. It was like 12 years old, and we had over 15,000 measures on it. So it was a lot of data, and I didn't know how you were going to handle that. It was a lot, and I know that you had to troubleshoot on the technical department and how you upload all of that information, because I didn't want my patients to come in and have years of data and no longer be able to see that, or that we'd have to print out their old data. So you guys did a pretty stellar job on troubleshooting on what to do with integrating that old data with the new data. So now when my patients come in, they can, I have patients that I've been seeing for 12 years, so they can look back and see their old data points now in the app, which I think was a really important feature, because it's fun to look back like, wow, remember the last time you did a weight loss program with us, you'd lost this much weight, and now here you are, and we're losing this much weight. So it's been great to have that comparison. I really also love the upgrade in having it as an app for the patients to access all of their data. I think that is so helpful. Before, we were just printing out paper and giving them a sheet every time when we could only add so many data or dates of weight in there each time. So now they can look at all of their information through history that they've been with us. And we can analyze that information a lot better by looking at the graphical interpretations of that data. Really, because I can look across, for example, like muscle mass lost and see like, well, this is how much muscle mass you lost this time. But over time, we can see that it was only 4 to 5 pounds. And now that you've been weight stable, that muscle mass has gradually increased a little bit. So it gives us a much longer data points to analyze and make assessment on. And I think it's so much better than just seeing a number going down. To be able to see ranges has been really helpful too. That's another new feature that you added with the data points, is giving the green, yellow, and red zones based on demographic information, I'm assuming, and the analytics that you've done. And that's been really helpful because also patients can focus more on, if they're in the yellow zone, now they're shooting for the green zone. So it's giving them more different goals to shoot for. And that's been a real fun upgrade. I mean, they do have different BMI scales for African American and Asian. And so I think it makes sense that the scale has to have different algorithms for that, or female and male. And giving a more accurate estimation on body composition, I think is really important to consider those factors. But it also helps us see historical information on that patient as well. So if I'm looking at a patient, this is another really important feature I think having a body composition analysis machine offers us, is that we can look at the patient's fat-free mass and I can calculate out what a healthy female fat mass might be. And then we set her goals to be more realistic. So she may never get into a normal BMI because her fat-free mass is so high. So in order to get to normal BMI, we'd have to get her down to like less than 20% body fat, shave off some muscles, and that's just simply unrealistic. So when I'm telling my patients that they ask me what goal weight should I have, and I can look at their fat-free mass and say, well, you have a really high fat-free mass means you have really good muscle mass and bone mass, and we want to maintain as much of that as possible. And if you're a curvy woman as opposed to not so curvy, an athletic build, then that helps also put you into a little bit of a higher body fat percentage, which I think in CKIC is somewhere between 34 and 36% body fat, which I think is actually really healthy for a lot of women. And then some women who are more of an athletic build and want to get their weight down further, we might be targeting a 30% body fat reduction. And that looks very differently from you need to lose 20 pounds. That might mean you only need to lose 5 pounds of fat, and then you're going to be in a really ideal body fat percentage. And it so allows us to make a much more customized and individualized experience with a patient in assessing their weight.